Baba knows the way. For Joseph Baba Ifa. Baba knows the way. We follow the signs. He walks with the Orisha through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients. He honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come from.
Hey family, thank you for tuning in to Our Roots podcast with Joseph Baba Ifa. Where only the strongest roots see the light, brought to you by Botánica candles and more. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. What's up, Phil?
What's going on? Happy Sunday, man.
Happy Sunday, brother. How are you?
Hey, life is grand. You know what we're missing, though? We're missing your hat, brother.
Oh, man.
You had a streak.
I know,
and then your
I know.
hat is just missing.
I know. I gotta.
So now I'm a little off now because your hat's gone. But it's all good though.
I'm gonna bust out some new options. I got a couple more to bring into the rotation.
Yeah, guys, and don't forget, you guys can join our membership program. It's real simple. Right under this video, there's a little button that says join, and once you hit that button, it takes you to our membership platform. We got 3 separate tiers. Each tier offers its own separate perks, and obviously at the end of this episode, you guys get a massive shout out. So if you want that in there too, make sure you join our membership platform.
Absolutely, and be sure to check out our sponsors, guys. Luna Hall and Studio is renting, 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 Event Center, and be sure to check out Twin Mobile Precision Detailing to have your car looking brand new. Those brothers do a great job. Today's episode is going to be on the snake, Phil.
The snake.
Any interactions with snakes in your lifetime,
So,
sir?
are you a fan of Indiana Jones?
I am a fan.
Okay, so
but I
you
haven't
know that
delved
he
into the cinematography.
he
I'm a big
is
Sean Connery guy.
horrified of snakes.
Oh
That's
yeah,
me.
like Temple of Doom.
That's
that
me.
I remember.
That's me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them either, to be frank with you. They're they look like they're a little difficult to handle. You know, you can never really wrap your hands around them. I've interacted with a few in a controlled environment, but I tell you, when you hold them, it's so wild because, you know, being that they're reptilian, they just feel very different than what we're used to. You know, they're cold. You feel all the muscles moving, the organs, but definitely one of the most important, animals within Ifa. One of the most pronounced. I mean, when you look in the Yoruba language, the word for snake is 𝗃𝗲𝗍. Now, the suffix there of jo makes reference to dancing, right? And they say that the reason the snake has this name is it's because he who dances. And when you look at the snake, you know, when it's kind of, slithering around, like what was it, Slytherin House in Harry Potter? Yeah. It's dancing. It's moving in a melodic, methodical way. I'll never forget, my daughter was really into the movie The Jungle Book. And, 𝗀 is a big character there, you know, the anaconda or the python, whatever species of snake it was. But, you know, when you looked at the symbolism of what 𝗀 represented in that movie, which was wisdom, longevity, even having the ability to see into the future, all of those are similar concepts within Ifa. The snake is seen as a symbol of all of those things, and it's actually one of the animals that literally manifests an Orisha known as 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲, which I'm actually thinking about coming out with a video on because there's been a lot of debate on that Orisha as far as its presence within Cuba, and I think we can provide some documentation to substantiate that, even though it's an even more popular Orisha in places like Brazil within traditions like Candomblé and Umbanda. But the reason the snake and 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 are synonymous, 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 being the rainbow, the Yoruba mythology states that the rainbow is nothing more than a snake, right? How it kind of wriggles along the sky. Based on, you know, the concepts of longevity and everlasting life and things like that. So I thought that was an interesting point. But Ifa's mythology says that at one point the snake actually had legs, right? It was almost more of a lizard type thing beforehand. And mind you, you know, if it's an apex predator now, imagine then, you know, with all that mobility. But in the Odu of Ikadi, it speaks of this animal once again, and it says that the snake was the child of Obatala. Now, Obatala has a lot to do with this animal. Like, we're going to reference Odus like Irosofun. We're going to reference Odus like Obedi. that speak about 𝗶𝗸𝗍's interaction with the snake. It was probably, he definitely is the Orisha that manifests it the most. Now, there is a clan or a tribe in Yoruba land known as the Igbo, right? And they are known as the snake worshippers. Their indigenous religion incorporates it quite a bit. 𝗶𝗸𝗍 is known as 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶, which is the king of the Igbo clan. And they actually, utilize the snake. He utilized the snake. It was a symbol of his power. It was seen as his manifestation, from the animal kingdom within himself in it. So all of those parallels are there. So 𝗶𝗸𝗍 is going to be a key Orisha when discussing this animal. But in the Odu of 𝗃𝗍𝗍, the snake was the son of 𝗶𝗸𝗍. He was 𝗶𝗸𝗍's prized child, right? Now, the snake was a little bit arrogant because of this, And he also had this habit where rather than maneuvering the way 𝗶𝗸𝗍 wanted him to, on his hind legs or, in a more esteemed fashion, he preferred to, rub himself against the ground. And the reason being is because he was addicted to 𝗵𝗈, right? Which was it's a calcified rock for anybody that's unfamiliar. So what ended up happening was 𝗶𝗸𝗍 would tell the snake, please don't persist too much in this habit. Like it's not prestigious. You're on the floor, you're rolling around in 𝗵𝗈, all these different things. And 𝗵𝗈 is a white rock, right? So it creates a white powder. So interpret that however you choose.
Hey.
And, he was like, I can't have you living like this. There's going to be repercussions. And the snake said, okay, Dad, yeah, sure. But the snake persisted and persisted and persisted because he was addicted to the 𝗵𝗈, until one day 𝗶𝗸𝗍 got tired of him and cursed him. And he said, I've given you all the abilities and possibilities to be, the greatest person you can be, and you choose to persist in these lower pleasures. So if you want to be down there so much, now you can stay down there. And he cursed the snake, and he cursed the snake in a way where its limbs fell off. And that's why till this day, the snake, utilizes its belly and, its abdominals and all the muscles to be able to transport itself across the ground. But even till this day, its nose is in the dirt, right? So a lot of people have interpreted this as, a story to stay away from vice and things like that, because obviously a white powder and substance, it can be interpreted in so many different things. But it explains the snake's shape. Specifically, where 𝗶𝗸𝗍 originally created the snake to perfection, supposedly in his image, and the snake persisted in misbehaving or not trying to assimilate his regal role. So for anybody that's ever wondered why, snakes are on the ground like that, 𝗃𝗍𝗍 gives an explanation for that.
It's always interesting because, in the Christian mythology,
I was just about to mention
it's the devil. Snakes, split tongues.
But you know why?
Snake eyes, bad.
The reason being is because the snake was always viewed as knowledgeable. It was always viewed as wise. It was always viewed as longevitous, right? So not to comment on, any specific traditions, but the reason you would demonize such a sacred, holy animal like that is to deter people from trying to accomplish or acquire that same level of wisdom and enlightenment, right? Because snakes didn't become demonized until, we arrived in the West, as far as propaganda and things like that. It was always viewed as a very sacred animal, and when you talk about, like, for example, I'm going to pray 𝗀𝗛𝗹𝗁. Baba 𝗀𝗛𝗹𝗁, 𝗀𝗀𝗹 𝗃𝗀𝗄 𝗀𝗀𝗋 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗄 𝘊𝗨 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝒑𝗏 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝒑𝗏. It speaks of 𝗶𝗸𝗍 as 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝒑𝗏, or the king of the Igbo land, right? And Baba 𝗀𝗛𝗹𝗁, which speaks of this animal quite a bit. There's two stories specifically in it that speak of it. And their sacred animal was always the snake, and 𝗶𝗸𝗍, it was, and when you think of the albino snake, all of those things, like the Burmese python and all those things, those are all property of the Orisha 𝗶𝗸𝗍. So in the Odu of 𝗀𝗛𝗹𝗁, it speaks of a lot of conflict that was happening around this animal. The first one I'm going to go over is going to be his conflict with 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶 or 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶. And the snake here got into conflict with 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶. He thought he was superior. He didn't think 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶 deserved, all of the regalness that came to him in 𝗀𝗛𝗹𝗁. I mean, in 𝗀𝗛𝗹𝗁 is really where 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗶 became king of the world. So the snake didn't want to recognize him. He was constantly trying to attack him, insult him, demoralize him, all these different things. So Baba 𝗀𝗍𝗃 said, hey, leave me alone. I don't bother you. There's no reason for you to bother me. Like, let's keep it pushing, But the snake persisted and persisted and persisted because he wanted to eat Baba 𝗀𝗍𝗃. In some manifestations, even in this pataki, he was still leprous. So one day, Baba 𝗀𝗍𝗃 lost his temper like he does sometimes. I tell you, 𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗃 states this, just like so many others, that's really an Orisha that you don't want to ever be on his bad side. Baba 𝗀𝗍𝗃 can be the most catastrophic. Him, 𝘃cie, and I'll throw Ochung in there too because she could take away everything that's worthwhile. But he got mad and he said, all right, you want to keep on and persisting? You want to eat me? You want to, try to, infringe upon my rights in my space? Let's get to know each other. And Baba 𝗀𝗍𝗃 cursed him with leprosy.
Yeah.
Right? He actually sent leprosy and sent measles, smallpox, all of the different diseases and things like that to literally rest upon the snake's skin. So the snake originally, and specifically the snake that's referenced, whether the python, right, or an anaconda, what have you, or the python, you started seeing these markings on the skin. Like if you look at one of those animals, when you look at its skin, it actually resembles leprosy marks, right? And that's also why when you touch a snake, you have to wash your hands and things afterwards because of the bacteria and things that are on its skin. So he basically cursed the snake to be able to live with this disease forever, right? Or to show these conditions based on his lack of humility, right? Until this day, when you look at it, you still see the markings. That was from the war that he lost between Baba 𝗀𝗍𝗃 and the snake. And some people say that also in 𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗃, the snake had limbs as well. But when Baba 𝗀𝗍𝗃 sent the disease, being that leprosy is characterized by a loss of sensation within the extremities, they eventually fell off, and he has his present form. So that's pretty wild. The Odu of 𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗃 has another story about the snake, right? Are you familiar with the symbol of medicine?
Yeah, it's my logo, bro.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I forgot, bro. The staff of Hermes?
Yeah.
So there's snakes on it, right? You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go. In the Odu of Baba 𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗃, just like in the Odu of Baba 𝗀𝗲𝗹𝗁, it's where the staff of medicine first manifested, right? So there was a war that was going on. The snake is, all of his stories are characterized by war and conflict. He's just a beast. So the war was between, in some versions, the snake and Obatala, and in other versions, it was the snake and Oduduwa. They're practically synonymous, right? I'll go with Oduduwa for the sake of conversation because there's so many other patakis where, the snake and Obatala had beef. So the snake was trying to consume Oduduwa's son, and Oduduwa's son was the Eku, or the rat. I think it was more the Okete, or the giant bush rat, right? So, the snake was trying to eat the rat. He was trying to eat Oduduwa. He was trying to all these other things. And Oduduwa was like, yo, let's have a meeting of the minds. Let's try to, do things amicably, and almost as a pacifist, let's try to make things calm. And they had this epic sit-down showdown in the jungle where Oduduwa and the snake met, and, the rat was there with his father. And, they were all talking like, hey, you did this. Hey, I did this. Hey, this. Hey, this. Like, they decided to come up with a peace treaty where they were going to respect each other's territories. They weren't going to, infringe anymore. It was almost like a NATO type thing. They left on terms, They chose to respect each other's boundaries. So when that happened, Oduduwa and the rat were leaving. And the rat looked at Oduduwa and said, Father, you forgot your staff. Like Oduduwa would walk around with like a metal staff, right? So Oduduwa was like, hey, we can't go back over there. Yeah, we already made terms. We told him we wouldn't go into this part of the jungle. Leave it be. It's not that serious. I'll have another staff made. But the rat, being a little idealistic, was like, nah, I can't let that one down. I'm going to go back and get the staff. And Oduduwa pleaded with him. He's like, please leave the snake's territory alone. But the rat decided, nah, I'm gonna go run it. So the rat went back and he found the staff. But what he didn't realize is that the snake had perched himself on the staff to the point where the rat didn't realize. So when the rat went to reach for the staff, guess what the snake did?
Ate it?
He ate him, right? And when 𝗀𝗲𝗹𝗁 realized his son hadn't come back, and he looked from afar and he saw the snake, perched on the staff, coiled, and consuming his son, he said, well, as a commemoration of my son, anybody that wants salvation, that'll be the signal that they'll look for to be able to find somebody that could help them. So that's where the staff of medicine actually first manifested within history.
Love it.
It was the snake perched on 𝗀𝗲𝗹𝗁's staff, right? And 𝗀𝗲𝗹 by nature is an orisha that is, identified with health, longevity, just like 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗲 as well. And then if you look at the concept of Baba Ifa kind of being witness to all of this as well, all having to do with medicine and treatment and things like that. So those are the stories from 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲 that actually speak of the snake. Going back to the Igbo people, I remember one time I was actually interacting with a client, and they had I don't know if they had initiated into the Igbo indigenous faith, or if they had received consultation or treatment or what have you, but they actually went over there. Like, they were in Nigeria, and I think they were in an Igbo village and things like that. And he actually, or she, I don't recall, mentioned that they actually have the snake living freely, kind of going around the palace and things like that, or, where you could see people walking around with snakes from time to time, or they actually use the snake for curative abilities and whatnot. But that's a pretty wild thing, to just know that there's a snake kind of crawling around the house all night. So I don't know how legitimate that was, but it definitely piqued my interest. But I do know that it's very sacred over there. In the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲, once again, it speaks of this animal. And the snake actually had begun issues with Orunmila, right? Literally. And he was trying to find a way to be able to eliminate Orunmila without getting his hands dirty. So he started a gossip about Orunmila, saying that Orunmila was attempting to murder Ogun or assassinate him. So through the grapevine, this ended up making it back to Ogun, or his ears. And Ogun said, well, I got to kill Orunmila before he kills me. So now all of a sudden, Orunmila, one morning decides to read himself, and the Odu Baba 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲 is revealed, where Ifa said he needed to perform sacrifice to the Orisha Osain. And when he did that, Osain said, I'm not sure if you've been paying attention, but the snake told everybody that you're trying to kill Ogun. And Orunmila was like, why would I do that? That's my brother. That's ridiculousness. And he said, well, we're going to have to set up a trap and things like that to kind of make the truth come out, right? So the Osain played double agent and acted like he was in on the plot to off Orunmila, and told the snake that he could lure Orunmila to this place, to the space. And the snake said, well, I can lure Ogun. And then, they were all going to just let it happen. But when they arrived, Ogun was ready to kill Orunmila. Osain yoked up the snake, and Orunmila said, he's lying. There's no way I would ever hurt you. I didn't even come with a weapon. And Ogun said, well, prove it. Well, he said, well, besides not having the weapon, Osain is a witness to it. Like, Osain saw the snake, spreading this gossip and all these other things. And in the Pataki, they actually set up Ogun in a way where he overheard Osain and the snake talking about how they were trying to set Orunmila up. So the snake was like, no, it's a lie, this, that, and the third. And Ogun looked at his brother and said, I apologize for ever listening to an idiot like this. How can I make it up to you? And he said, well, let's kill him, right? So, they yoked up the snake and they cut his head off, right? And, they all consumed it together as family. And Orunmila actually danced with the head. So for anybody that watched the Odu Baba 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲, or the video on it, there's a story in there where it speaks of when the goat was actually trying to gossip, and because of it, he ended up being sacrificed, and Orunmila danced with his head. But in the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲 as well, there's another pataki where instead of the goat, it ended up being the snake. So it's one of the other patakis that speaks of why when the Babalawo sacrifices an animal, specifically a four-legged one, we dance the head, right, as a commemoration of our victory and the perpetuation of Ifa on earth. But in this case, Orunmila danced with the snake one. So, when you look at up until this point in the video, the snake, it does have treachery. you know, I mean, even now. But to avoid its negative behaviors is to really benefit from all the others, you know, wise, logical, when it lived in 𝗃𝗏 or 𝗃𝗍, or in a blessed state. But in the negative, you know, the poor thing, he was either losing an arm or a head or a leg or any of these different things, right? So there's that. I've always liked this story because it kind of reminds me of a gangster film. In the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗲, it speaks of when 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 started a business. Now, a lot of people don't realize this specific aspect of it. We all know that 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 likes sweets, right? But one of the best, if not the best offering to give to 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 is sugarcane. Whether it's the juice, anything that's sugar-based, like, you know, that's just his thing. So 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 actually started a sugarcane water stand, or a 𝗃𝗏𝗸𝗃 stand, right? And, you know, he was making really great money, and it was a booming business. He was doing very well. But one day he saw the crab walk by, and the crab was foaming at the mouth. And 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 said, oh my God, I need to help this guy hydrate. He's going to pass out dead. So 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 gave him a complimentary glass of his sugarcane water. When the crab drank it, he took the glass and threw it at 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲, saying, thanks for nothing, I'm not paying you. And the crab, you know, scurried away. So 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 was very disturbed over this. You know, he had never received such mistreatment or disrespect. So when this happened, his son, the snake, came by. And he said, Dad, what has you so upset? What is the problem? And he said, no, the crab came by. I saw he was foaming at the mouth, and I was courteous enough to give him a complimentary glass of guarapo, or sambumbia, as the story says in the demystify. And he threw the 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗏 at me, he threw the 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏 at me, he flipped me off, and he said he wasn't going to pay me. And the snake was like, oh, word? So the snake said, I'm going to go avenge you. I'm going to go, you know, avenge your honor. And 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 was like, mijo, just let it go. It's really not worth it. We'll probably never see that guy again. Like, déjalo, you know? But the snake just wouldn't let it go. So he said, no, lo voy a coger. And the snake had an idea of where the crab lived, and the snake went into the crab's cave. The issue was he didn't realize the crab had a side cave, and when the snake came in, the crab grabbed him by the throat, and he strangled him to death. And he went back to 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲, and he threw the snake in front of 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲. He's like, here's your son, and I'm still not paying you. You can send whoever you want. I'm going to kill them all. And till this day, 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 and the crab really, they don't have any dealings, right? Pretty sad story, pretty gangster story. The snake here is showing nobility. You know, he was trying to defend 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 and his honor, you know, but he didn't learn a lesson. You know, sometimes you have to let certain situations just dissipate on their own. I mean, he really didn't have to kill the crab. The crab was going to disappear and go away anyway, you know. So what do you think about that one, Phil?
Man,
it's pretty gangster.
Yeah, dude.
That's a bit much for sure.
Yeah.
So in this next sign, you know, we're talking about the snake. This is in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍𝗉. And in the 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍𝗉 was where 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 was seen as the preemptive candidate to become olori, or the owner of heads. And it was supposed to be a pretty simple process. But there was another Orisha known as 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃 who didn't want this to happen because he really didn't like 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲. He thought 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 was arrogant, any of these other things, and he really didn't think he deserved it. So 𝗃𝗏𝗃 decided to fill the path with snakes from 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲's house to Olodumare house. So 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 went to walk outside, and he saw the snake, and he's like, oh my God, I can't walk out right now. I'm going to get bit. So when this occurred, 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 was stuck in the house. So 𝗀𝗄 and 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗂 were walking by from the other direction, and they saw 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 cooped up in the house, and they're like, yo, you're not going to go to Olodumare's palace? Like, he's trying to give you, you know, the position of olori, or owner of heads. And he said, yeah, I want to go, but the path is full of snakes. And I guess he was an Indiana Jones guy. He was terrified of them, right? Mm-hmm. And they were like, okay, let's see what we can do here. So they went and visited Orula, told them the situation. Divination for 𝗿𝗏𝗸𝗲 occurred, 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗃. was revealed. They performed at Bo. And ultimately, the way 𝗹𝗸𝗲 was able to make it to the palace was by offering sacrifice to Eshu and Shango. Those two got 𝗀𝗀𝗋 drunk, right? And when he was passed out, 𝗹𝗸𝗲 took advantage of it and went to his roof and started hopping from roof to roof until he made it to Olodumari's palace, avoiding 𝗀𝗀𝗋's wrath, because 𝗀𝗀𝗋 was going to beat him down, and the snakes. So when he got there, the ceremony was done. All right, congratulations, you're Olori. But the problem was when 𝗀𝗀𝗋 woke up. And when 𝗀𝗀𝗋 woke up and saw what happened and realized, he completely flipped out. Completely. He started raining hellfire upon earth. And he was at the point where he was going to destroy earth, where 𝗹𝗸𝗲 looked and said, yo, if I knew that it was going to bring this much war and this much conflict, I would have avoided this altogether. Like, the position's not that deep. And Olodumare said, well, it's your position now, and you have an enemy for life now. So, you know, do whatever you have to do to mitigate that. Now I have to figure out how to keep this guy calm. So Olodumare and 𝗀𝗀𝗋 had an encounter, and Olodumare said, what's the problem? He said, well, you gave the position to 𝗹𝗸𝗲. He doesn't deserve it, but you gave it to him anyway, and now I'm mad, and I'm going to destroy Earth. And he said, well, how about this? If 𝗹𝗸𝗲 is the owner of heads, would you be happy with being the owner of the atmosphere? Okay. And 𝗀𝗀𝗋 said, all right, I'll take it. And that's why till this day, 𝗀𝗀𝗋, whether it's through volcanic eruption, whether it's through tectonic plate movement, whether it's due to climatic change, he is the Orisha that actually dominates, you know, weather, the atmosphere, all of these different things. And till this day, 𝗹𝗸𝗲 in the Odu of Irosofung lived in fear of 𝗀𝗀𝗋 because he knew what 𝗀𝗀𝗋 would do to him. So the interesting point here is the snakes. Once again, 𝗹𝗸𝗲 was terrified of snakes, you know, and it almost actually, you know, interrupted his destiny. But the snake here, you know, he ended up playing a huge role because of the snake, who was actually witness to 𝗹𝗸𝗲's coronation as Olori, or 𝗀𝗀𝗋 becoming basically the king of nature to a certain degree. You know, he was there for all of that. So all that wisdom, all that knowledge, all that testimony is all encompassed in its genetics. So nice. There's another Odu, and it's known as 𝗃𝗃𝗃. And in the Odu of 𝗃𝗃𝗃, it speaks of, I want to say Rafiki, right? It's, it's
one of my favorites.
Yeah, man.
Santa Sana, squash banana.
It's known as the Odu of the wise ape, or the wise monkey.
Okay.
And there's a certain species of 𝗃𝗲𝗋, right, or bush rat, or nutria, whatever you want to call it. It's known as the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 conga, which is actually one that can climb up trees and things like that. That's really the one that Ifa speaks about in the Odu of 𝗃𝗃𝗃. And, you know, the monkey was like, yo, you know, if you maintain the home and things like that, you can live here too. You know what I'm saying? Let's see how we can benefit each other. And the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was like, all right. But the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was a little bit messy. And apart from that, he was a little bit arrogant. He wouldn't listen to the monkey. The monkey was like, hey, maybe you should do this, maybe you shouldn't do that, etc. And one day, the monkey told the 𝗃𝗃𝗃, don't go out in the jungle at night. It's not good for you. And the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was like, yeah. And what the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 didn't know was that the snake was hunting it, right? So the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 went for divination. The snake went for divination. The 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was told to perform sacrifice to avoid a premature death. And the snake was told to perform sacrifice to always be fed, right? And the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 didn't do it, Bo, arrogance, and the snake did because he was hungry. So one night, the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was like, yo, I'm going to go out into the bush. And the monkey was like, I highly, highly recommend you don't do that. And the snake was like, the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was like, yeah, whatever. And the 𝗃𝗃𝗃 went down and started moving around and didn't see the snake, and the snake ate it. You know, and the monkey looked down at the snake, and the snake was like, man, he should have listened to you. And the monkey was like, I know. This Odu, you know, speaks of the cunning of the snake and the rationale. You know, he was very quick to do that which was logical as well. He performed at Bo, he hunted, he watched. You know, it's an animal that the whole jungle kind of lives in fear of, whether it's the bigger ones like the constrictors or the vipers, the ones that strike. You know, it's really something we really don't have any control over, you know. And it also speaks, a couple of the Patakis speaks about, you know, why their preferred food source is rodents, you know, whether it's that, rabbits, what have you, you know, they kind of live in a natural state of predation of that group. So, you know, that's the Odu of Rafiki. That's 𝗃𝗍𝗃𝗍. I've always been fascinated by them. The snake is really interesting because when we talk about, you know, like nobility and just honor and things like that, the snake is actually one of Orunmila's favorite animals, right?
Really?
Oh yeah. And the reason being is because the oil palm, or the African oil palm, where red palm oil is harvested from, you know, these gentlemen, they risk their lives to be able to get this fruit from, you know, the canopy. Now, most people would think it's because they're falling. It's actually not that. The majority of the time most of the time fatalities happen is because there's snakes that live in the tree that try to bite these guys while they're trying to cut down the king fruit, right? So when you kind of interpret that, the snake is actually the protector of the sacred seeds of Ifa. Because when we go up there to try to harvest the fruit, the seeds, whatever, rather than waiting for them to fall down, you know, we run the risk of getting bit. So I always thought that was an interesting parallel as well, because once again, the snake is always being painted as treacherous and those things. And he was. I mean, you look at, you know, even him and Orula had, you know, war at one point. But when you look at, forgive me, the manifestation in real world nature, the snake is actually trying to defend the seeds or the fruit from being harvested from human beings. You know, he's trying to see who's actually worth it. So I've always thought that was interesting because I started studying that tree, and that's actually the big issue there is the snakes. So within Ifa, definitely a very popular animal, one that numerous patakis are based upon. Big takeaways, I mean, as far as character, you know, the positive aspects of the snake, you know, be calculated, be careful, you know, and be precise, you know. What do you think, Phil?
Man, I love these Ifa and animal episodes because there's so much history and so much reasons why these animals do certain things. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh,
and why they look a certain way.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I love that. I you know, so if you have any suggestions below, I think somebody mentioned one time dragonfly.
Yeah, I tell you, with the dragonfly, it was difficult though because there's only one pataki that I can kind of recall. But you know, the cockroach is still in the front running.
Oh man, I don't know about that one, man.
I don't know I know you don't like it. The picture might be too much, but man, there's so much information on the cockroach, man. I don't know, Phil. We'll wait a little bit, but we might have to do it.
Maybe just a VIP show.
Yeah,
for that one,
yeah.
you know? But guess what time it is?
Oh, my members.
Yeah, that's right, guys. Time to show love to the people who show love to the channel. It's real simple, guys. There's a little button right on this video that says join our membership program. It is 3 tiers. Each tier has its own separate perks, whether it's early episode releases, discounts on merch, private shows just for you guys, or you name it. We're going to show some love to the premium super fans today.
Awesome.
All right, here we go. We got Crystal De Leon.
Thank you, Crystal.
Renee Ruiz.
Awesome.
James Everett.
Very nice.
Damian Lopez.
Thank you.
Lisa Thompson.
Awesome.
Terrence Smith.
All right.
MJ Jones.
Very nice.
Robert Garcia. Raquel Torres and Brenda Gonzalez.
Gotta love the members. Guys, one more tidbit about the snake before we go into some closing remarks. The 𝘃𝗶𝗃𝗍 has a lot to do with the snake as well. They say that when Ogun cut her head off, the snake is actually what would help rejoin the head to the body. That's why sometimes you'll see, you know, like snake, you know, as a part of, you know, necklaces and things like that for the children of 𝘃𝗍𝗃. So a little extra there. Guys, botanicacandlesandmore.com is up and running for all your products and service needs. Members, you're the best. All of you guys are great. If you know anybody that could benefit from it, be sure to let them know about the program. Shout out to our sponsors, Luna Hall and Studio for all those major events. Yep. Ifa Orisha Event Center for any of those Orisha events. We want some privacy and a nice environment. Be sure to check out Twin Precision Mobile Detailing as well, so that car looks brand new. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Catch the podcast audio if you can't see us here on YouTube. A big thank you from all of us here at Our Roots Podcast. And until next time, family, see the light.
Baba Joseph showed the path today. Baba knows the way, we follow the signs. He walks with the 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients, he honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come from.